just unhappy. And now at this age, I'm thinking, I don't let certain things bother me the same way. Certain things
Right, the same thing about the pimple and the hair not being the way you want it. And I think when you're in your early years, you're trying to establish yourself.
Trying to prove.
You're trying to prove something. You're trying to make sure you're successful. You're trying to make a certain amount of money. You're trying to ascertain certain things. You want to have the tangible things.
Yeah, and there's a pressure that has to be done by a certain time frame. Yeah. Whereas everybody has a different timeline.
Well, that's like the timeline to get pregnant or the timeline to get married. How did you deal with that?
Of course. Even though I didn't want to have kids, that's a whole different segment about those of us who are childless. But yes, there are certain kind of biological pressures that then sometimes influence some of our other kind of decisions. Mm-hmm. Now that those biological pressures aren't on us, I think there's a little bit more freedom to do certain things. And I think we see examples of people living longer, number one. So as you're living longer, living healthier, you have some opportunities to maybe do some things you might not have done, like a second career.
Absolutely. Or your third career, or your fourth career. Like AWB, this is like the fourth time. Yeah. But I also think for you saw aging differently because of your parents. I do think that plays a role in how you view aging, because you don't even see your parent as old. The stuff you be telling your dad to do sometimes, I'll be like, I have to remind her, he is 95. Give him a break. Dad, how come you can't find the video? How come you don't see the video? I linked it under the Google Drive. Can I tell you how many people my age don't understand how to get to a Google Drive, and he does? So I think sometimes what you see, you assimilate.
And that's why I'm glad you're showing different images here, because you're right. Most of the time when you look in the media or magazines, anybody old is going to be something regarding some health ailment or Medicare or just something, I don't want to say negative, but usually it's about a health ailment.
Right.
You don't see enough, hey, I am taking up surfing in Costa Rica. What was you, 60 when you did that?
60 or 61, maybe 60. I was 60 when I got popped in the mouth. But let that go. Duly noted, though. I tried it, and the surfboard came up and hit me, so I had a bruise. But it was worth it. Because I at least now have a different respect for surfers. I understand the skill set that it takes to surf now. Yeah. Where I thought you just get up on the board and you balance yourself, right? So look, after taking lessons, I'm thinking I'm going to jump up there and just hit a wave. Yes. But it takes you have an appreciation and a respect for surfers now that probably I didn't have.
But
before.
You were willing to do it.
And zip lining. Yeah, I love zip lining. I think let me ask this then, because I heard or read this, that as we age, we become more fearful, which is why we're not as open, because we know too much, we've been through
Depends on the person.
Now you're scared. Would you try just almost anything?
More things. Well, one thing for me changed was when 9/11 happened. That was such a fearful time in our country, kind of like now. But I decided rather than living fearful, I'm going to be fearless. So that's when I started to do my business and just took more chances, because I really, really realized time is really short. You don't know how things can change from moment to moment. Not just the aging part, but what's going on in our society, in our economy, with our leadership.
So they're saying the twinkling of an eye.
Yeah, so in my case, I'm not saying that's the case for everybody yet, definitely much more fearless. It helps too, and I think both of us, Sheila, have a really strong spiritual foundation.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know how people get through anything if you don't have that. However you see it, because again, as you were about to articulate, we have a different spiritual thought process, but we still have a spiritual process, and I always tell people all the time, but God, if it wasn't for God, then I don't even know how I would be doing this. We laugh because you talked about me and wanting to be on camera. People know I don't like being on camera. And so yes, we're not crazy. We hear it.
We're just gonna let it
background, but we're gonna let that go. I don't even like being on camera. Never did. Spent 20 years in the entertainment business. I think you might be able to find 5 pictures
Maybe.
of me. Maybe. I don't even have 5. Even from the radio station, I didn't like taking pictures. But here I am at this age, when most people wouldn't want to be on camera at this age.
Right.
Most people wouldn't want to show the wrinkles at this age. Right. I was looking at my neck the other day. I was like, well, golly. But this is the age that I finally decided, if not me, then who?
And you're breaking all of
not now, then when, right? So I think that's also part of aging. Yeah.
Well, I love how you said we both have a spiritual foundation. That also includes other spirits too,
Oh,
right?
yeah. All spirits are appreciated, especially over here. So, look, I guess that's the end of this because we've talked about her spirit, my spirit, the spirit of growing older and still doing things, and now we're going to have some spirits. So, I say always BYOB because everybody else is taken. All you can be is you. So, and also age amazingly. Because you see, we don't care about aging. We just out here wilding, ain't we?
Wilding at 60.
Oh, I'm going to learn how to twerk eventually. But anyway, until that day, age amazingly and age wildly.